I'm the Deaf Rider, captain of the starship Pentameter. A year ago, I was kidnapped and transported 1 billion light years into space. For reasons unknown, deep thought, an alien intelligence that survives in deep space presented me with a starship and told me to seek my destiny, whatever that might be. It turns out my kidnapping occurred just as a monumental disaster struck my homeworld. And I'm now the last human being alive, seeking to preserve human culture by broadcasting poetry into the galaxy once a week. While conducting a mission on behalf of the Krell Emperor, we encountered alien technology that warned us of the arrival of a 30,000-year-old threat to the galaxy, one which we are hurrying to inform the Emperor of. On the planet Delos 3, the inhabitants have lived under an unbroken blanket of cloud, completely unaware of the existence of the external universe. Recent technological advances have resulted in the dispersion of the clouds, but seeing the universe outside for the first time has resulted in the whole population spacing out.
It's X-37 here, the first mate of the Pentameter. Our journey through space has taken us to many unusual places where we have seen many unusual life forms. We recently encountered a sentient star. It was extremely arrogant, believing itself to be the center of its solar system. My captain is the last human being in the galaxy, following the destruction of his home planet with the incredibly boring name of Earth. We have been drifting through space on the starship Pentameter, reciting poems and trying to survive the rigors of space travel. Right now we are trying to bring a warning to the Emperor of the Krell Empire. This is the communication suite aboard the Pentameter that doubles as my laboratory. To pass the time, I employ my planet-sized intellect solving the galaxy's most pressing scientific dilemmas.
You're supposed to be setting up the broadcast space, X-37, not conducting any of your weird experiments. I'm sick of having to repair damaged equipment.
No. Everything is fine. You banned me from doing any more experiments, remember?
You're lying again, aren't you?
Sucker. I have been attempting to put up periodic table posters around the ship. I'd like to feel I'm in my element. Uh-oh, something is wrong. I'd better duck.
What in deep space happened here? X-37, I thought you said you weren't conducting any more experiments.
I can't. Some glitch.
Let's bring up the interface. 3, 2, 1, and hello and welcome to the show. We are currently broadcasting our show while traveling with some urgency to inform the Krell Emperor of our discovery of a 30,000-year-old threat to the galaxy. I'm the Deaf Rider, And no matter what your species, number of heads, or planet of origin, you are all very welcome here. In other news, a new hobby has been sweeping the galaxy. In more of the economically depressed sectors of the galaxy, many beings have begun combining protons with electrons for sport. Apparently, this is because it can be achieved free of charge. And hi and welcome. Let me see who's here today. Just passing back through the chat for a moment. Welcome in, Tim Tam. Welcome in, Fizzban. Nice to see you again this week. Welcome in, Robotham J. Lovely to see all of you. I hope you're all having a great day today. At least hoping that it has started well. Timothy says, putting up posters caused an explosion. I'm beginning to think this is deliberate sabotage by the monster in the vents and not X-37. Very possible, very possible. Though you never know what X-37 is getting up to. Well, welcome in and thank you for dropping by. There are a few little housekeeping things I want to get out of the way. Fizzban DM says, depends what elements the posters are made out of. Very true. And again, I say again, X-37 really can't be trusted.
Hey, that's not very nice.
Maybe not, but, you know, true. True. Anyway, let's have a look at some of these housekeeping things. We have a number of rules that apply on our streams, so let's take a look at those for a moment. These rules are to make this place an enjoyable place to visit for everybody. So if you're visiting with us, be kind, be respectful, keep the language clean. We welcome kids and families to our streams. Don't ask for or give away any personal information for your own protection. Don't spam the commands. We have a lot of commands. We encourage you to use them, but don't spam them. Remember, there are others who might want to use them as well. Don't spam or promote yourself to other viewers, at least not without talking to me first. Be curious and willing to join in. Take on a role within our universe. This last one is not compulsory. But if you are here and visiting with us, take on a role. You will see that a number of our visitors have artwork that I prepared for them with their own species and a little bit of information about their home planet. Should you wish to, let us know about your species and home planet, and I will prepare some artwork for you as well. We do have a number of commands that are designed to make it possible for visitors to interact with us. The first command on the list, the !W commands, will make all the commands that are available appear in the chat for you to check out. The command !SL will give you a link to the poetry request list, which I'll show you a little bit later, where you can request poems as part of our show today. W applause, !W applause, gives you the opportunity to applaud us if you like the poem that we have recited. On fire, party, wow, cool, and amazing are all there and available for you to just feed back to us your enjoyment if you happen to be enjoying the poems. We have a number of other commands exclamation point hug, throw, attack, sling, and bomb are all available. You will have noticed perhaps some little avatars at the bottom of the screen running around that represent you, and you can use these commands to interact with the other visitors to our stream. Okie doke. Let's see, what have we got here? Just having a look. Oh, thank you, my marvelous mods, for opening the song list so that it's available to our visitors. There are a couple of features of the screen that I think are worth directing your attention to. Over on the left, we have our chat, where you can communicate with me and with other people here in the chat and be part of our community this morning. We also have our marvelous punometer up here on the right-hand side. I encourage and invite all our participants in today's show to make puns and add them in the chat, and I will award a star for each pun, and we will see if we can reach 5 stars. The record to date has been, we had a 10-star streak a little while ago, 10 marvelous puns added by our visitors, so feel free to add puns to your heart's content. Okie doke. Let's see, what else do I need to show? Our featured poet this week is Emma Lazarus, so we will be seeing a few poems by Emma Lazarus during this particular week. So I hope you're looking forward to those. We are also, if I can find what I'm looking for, which can be a bit difficult sometimes, we have our poem list here where your requests will appear, and I'm thrilled to see we've got some requests coming up so quickly. That's excellent, thank you. We also have our poetry list, which contains 233 different poems that you can select if you follow the link that's pinned at the top of the chat. You can, with your Twitch login, participate by clicking on the request button. I discovered this week that some of my visitors were a bit put off by the fact that the request panel that opens up has a little dollar donation section in it, and they felt that they were being asked to donate. No, that's there if people want to, but I've never seen anybody actually use it. I can't turn it off, and requests are completely free. Okay, no, there's no obligation whatsoever. In fact, this stream is intended to be completely free. Okay, so hopefully that clears that up for you guys. Back we go. Here we are. Well, if you happen to be lurking out there today, please consider dropping me clicking on the follow. Follows are really helpful to me and to any streamer. If you happen to be visiting streamers, giving them a follow is always really helpful to the development of their stream. Welcome in, Ozjohn D. I see that you've arrived. Wonderful to see you. I hope you're having a great day. You probably weren't here when I first said this, but one of the things that I encourage my visitors to do is let me know what planet and species they belong to. So consider popping your species and home planet into the chat. For many of my visitors, I have already created special artwork and so on for when they visit. This is one of our visitors who is currently on the chat, Mr. Fizban DM, the two-headed visitor from the planet. Oops, I dropped before I read what planet he was from. He and she. Barton 46. So yeah, consider dropping me a note in the chat and giving me the opportunity to draw you a member of your race and planet. I would greatly appreciate that, and it would just add to my fun as well. All right, let us begin our poems. So let's clear that away and jump to our first poem of the day. This is our officially unofficial theme poem for the show. The Invitation to Dinner, written in 1999 by yours truly, the Deaf Writer. It occurred to me that poetry and food is something that should be enjoyed and savoured with some wine. And so I ask you out to dine with friends, of course, and I, your host, will beg your company the most. For were you to absent yourself, there's not enough of worldly wealth to compensate me for the grief of losing your good company. Welcome on in. And marvellous to see you. We're going to kick off the show today with the first poem by our featured poet, Emma Lazarus. And that poem is the very famous New Colossus. The New Colossus, written in 1883, written about the Statue of Liberty. And just because I can, there's my version of the Statue of Liberty down there that I drew for this particular poem. And here is Emma Lazarus herself, a small portrait that I did of this particular poet. The New Colossus by Emma Lazarus. Not like the brazen giant of Greek fame, with conquering limbs astride from land to land, here at our sea-washed sunset gates shall stand a mighty woman with a torch whose flame is the imprisoned lightning, and her name, Mother of Exiles. From her beacon hand glows worldwide welcome, her mild eyes command the air-bridged harbour the twin cities frame. Keep, ancient lands, your storied pomp, cries she with silent lips. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. And that was the New Colossus. Colossus? The New Colossus by Emma Lazarus. A marvellous poem of welcome that for many years held all the promise of the United States. It's been terribly sad to see the United States turn its back on being the welcoming nation that it once was. let's see. I'll just have a quick look back through. A Colossaurus? Is it a big statue? But I don't know if it's a dinosaur. A Colossosaurus. Well, at least I finally figured out how to fit some kaiju into my stream. Kaiju and giant robots. The stream wouldn't be complete without them. Colossiraptor. Thank you, Robotham J, for the Colossiraptor. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to check out our list. Timothy Tamothy, to be honest, the statue would be cooler if it was a dinosaur. That I am in 100% in agreement with. There aren't enough giant dinosaur statues in our world. One of the fun things about going to Canberra back when the Earth still existed was to visit the Dinosaur Museum and look at all those marvelous dinosaur statues. Let's see, what is our first request of the day? Enter without so much as knocking, which I think is by Bruce Dorr. Let me see who has requested this poem. This poem was requested by Fizzban DM. Thank you so much for the request of Enter Without So Much as Knocking by Bruce Dorr. Oh, that's not right. That's Emily Dickinson. Okay, let's see what's happened. Have we... No. Aha. This is more like it. Okay, Enter Without So Much as Knocking by Bruce Dorr. Bruce Dorr. Okay, yep, that earns us our first star of the day, awarded to Fizzban DM. There we go. We've got our first star up on the day for that little pun. Enter Without So Much as Knocking by Bruce Dorr. Memento homo quia pulvis es, et in pulverum reverteris. Epigraph. Remember, man, that thou art dust, and unto dust thou shalt return. Blink, blink, hospital, silence. 10 days old, carried in the front door in his mother's arms, first thing he heard was Bobby Dazzler on Channel 7. Hello, 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 all you lucky people. And he really was lucky, because it didn't mean a thing to him then. A year or two to settle in and get acquainted with the setup, like every other well-equipped, smoothly run household, his included. One economy-size mum, one Anthony Squires Coolstream summer-weight dad, along with 2 other kids, straight off the junior department rack. When Mum won the Luxor Forge Tricky Tune quiz, she took him shopping. In the good-as-new station wagon, £495 at Reno's. Beep, beep, walk, don't walk, turn left, no parking, wait here, no smoking, keep clear, out, off grass, no breathing except by order. Beware of this, watch out for that. My God, beep. The congestion here just gets beep worse every day. Now what the beep beep does that idiot think he's doing? Beep beep and beep. However, what he enjoyed most of all was when they went to the late show at the local drive-in on a clear night, and he could see beyond the 50-foot screen where giant faces forever snarled, screamed, or make incomprehensible and monstrous love, a pure, unadulterated fringe of sky littered with stars. No one had got around to fixing up yet. He'd watched them circling about in luminous groups like kids at the circus who never got quite close enough to the elephant to get kicked. Anyway, pretty soon he was old enough to be realistic like every other godless, money-hungering, backstabbing, miserable so-and-so. And then it was goodbye stars and the soft cry in the corner when no one was looking, because I'm telling you straight, Jim, it's number one every time for this chicken. Hit wherever you see a head and kick whoever's down. Well, thanks for a lovely evening, Claire. It's good to get away from it all once in a while. I mean, it's a real battle all the way, and a man can't help but feel a little soiled himself at times. You know what I mean? Now take it easy on those curves, Alice, for God's sake. I've had enough for one night with that Claire Jessup. Hey, ease up, will you? Watch it. Probity and Sons Morticians did a really first-class job on his face. Everyone was very pleased, even adding a healthy tan he'd never had. Living gave him back for keeps the old automatic smile with nothing behind it, winding the whole show up with a nice ride out to the underground metropolis. Permanent residentials, no parking tickets, no taximeters ticking, no Bobby Dazzlers here, no down payments, nobody grieving over halitosis, flat feet, shrinking gums, falling hair. 6 feet down, nobody interested. Blink, blink, cemetery, silence. And that was Enter Without So Much as Knocking by Bruce Dorr. A very cynical look at the dehumanizing side of daily life. Let's jump in here again. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that poem, if enjoy is the right word for a poem that is somewhat bleak in outlook. I find that one quite moving myself. I think everybody at some point in their life has that feeling that life is just a series of motions, that it feels pointless and empty. I've certainly had that experience myself, and the poem kind of captures that cradle to the grave experience of going through the motions and being formed into something that you never wanted to be by life. Yep. Oh, I'm not sure if you guys heard that. That was Dougal the robot dog having a little bit of a bark in the background there. He's visiting with me today here on the tabletop as I talk with you. Let me see, what are we up to? We're going to introduce a fun fact or two about our featured poet for the day. So here's a little bit of information on Emma Lazarus, brought to you by X37. There we go. I think we're back now. Hello, folks. Did the stream come back? Somebody let me know in the chat. That would be great. I'm sorry that we lost our stream there for a minute. We're back. Yes, okay, thank you. Sorry about that. Throwing over to the marvelous X-37.
Emma Lazarus was born in 1849 to Moses and Esther Nathan Lazarus, descendants of the pioneering group of Spanish and Portuguese Jews who settled in New Amsterdam in the mid-1600s. While Emma's devout ancestors and relatives were actively involved with the Spanish-Portuguese synagogue in New York, her immediate family was outlawed among the Lazarus clan because they were no longer religiously observant. Moses Lazarus sought instead to place his family among their Christian peers. However, while Emma's friends were almost all Christian, she was usually referred to and seen as a Jewess. The Lazaruses educated their children at home. Emma's early poems and translations show she had a strong classical education and a mastery of German and French. Her father recognized his young daughter's talent and encouraged her work. When Emma was 17, he had her first book of poems privately published.
And we're back. Good to see you all again. Last episode, we added some more cards to our trading card collection. Last week's cards were Walt Whitman, William Blake, and Jean de La Fontaine. And of course, we're looking for new artists to include in our set of poet trading cards. So please suggest a poet to be part of our collection of cards. When we have enough of the cards, I'm putting together a set of rules for a trading card game to go with them that you'll be able to download for free off our site. So please think of a poet that you believe is deserving of their very own original trading card. In the meantime, let's have a look at our next poetry request. Or are we up to another poetry request? Not quite.
Hello, I'd like to take a moment to tell a joke.
Okay, we're having some technical issues today, but go ahead, tell your joke.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Wire.
Wire who?
Why are you keeping me out of the house?
Oh, it's been 2 weeks since we last did a show, and I think that was just awful. But I'll give you points for being persistent and keeping on trying. Let's see, we've got some more poems coming up. Our next poem is another of our featured poems by Emma Lazarus. So let's go there and see about that. If I can take the pages back. Oh dear, something's not right here. Must have been from the restart. Let's see. Aha. There we go. Should make it a little bit easier. Emma Lazarus. Her poem, The New Year. The second of the 3 poems we're featuring by Emma Lazarus today. The New Year by Emma Lazarus. Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Rosh Hashanah 5643. Not while the snow shroud round. Oh. I'm a little out of practice, folks, so I hope you'll bear with me a little bit. Rosh Hashanah 5643. Not while the snow shroud round dead earth is rolled, and naked branches point to frozen skies, when orchards burn their lamps of fiery gold, the grape glows like a jewel, and the corn, a sea of beauty and abundance lies, then the new year is born. Look where the mother of months uplifts in the green clearness of the unsunned west, her ivory horn of plenty dropping gifts, cool harvest feeding dews, fine winnowed light, tired labour with fruition, joy and rest, profusely to requite. Blow, Israel, the sacred cornet, call back to thy courts whatever faint heart throb. With thine ancestral blood thy need craves all. The red dark year is dead, the year just born leads on from anguish wrought by priest and mob to what undreamed of morn. For never yet since on the holy height the temple's marble walls of white and green, carved like the sea waves, fell and the world's light went out in darkness, never was the year greater with portent and with promise seen than this eve now and here. Even as the prophet promised, so your tent hath been enlarged unto earth's farthest rim. To snow-capped sierras from vast steppes ye went, through fire and blood and tempest-tossing wave, for freedom to proclaim and worship him, mighty to slay and save. High above flood and fire ye held the scroll, out of the depths you published still the word. No bodily pang had power to swerve your soul, yet in a cynic age of crumbling faiths, lived to bear witness to the living Lord, or die 1,000 deaths. In two divided streams the exiles part, one rolling homeward to its ancient source, one rushing sunward with fresh will, new heart. But each the truth is spread, the law unfurled. Each separate soul contains the nation's force, and both embrace the world. Kindle the silver candle's 7 rays, offer the first fruits of the clustered bowers, the garnered spoil of bees with prayer and praise. Rejoice that once more tried, once more we prove. Our strength of supreme suffering still is ours, for truth and law and love. And that was The New Year by Emma Lazarus. Emma Lazarus was an early Zionist, I think you would say. She felt the need for a Jewish homeland and advocated for the establishment of a Jewish homeland. Her vision of what that homeland would be was an inclusive one in which exiles and returnees would stand side by side. I wonder how she would feel about modern Israel and its treatment of the Palestinians and the lack of inclusiveness that is on evidence today. Anyway, let's see. We will do a second explainer and hopefully not have a crash as we look at that.
Hello again. While you're thinking about poems to request, I thought I'd tell you some more interesting facts from my colossal storage and retrieval system. In 1868, the precocious young poet sent the celebrated Ralph Waldo Emerson a copy of her first book. Over the next few years, Emerson became a trusted mentor, offering notes on her poems that ranged from enthusiastic praise to more critical comments. But whether complimenting or criticizing, Emerson remained a supportive reader. By her early 20s, Emma's talent was widely recognized. One of the first successful Jewish American authors, she was part of the late 19th century New York literary elite and was celebrated in her day as an important American poet. Her writing combined her interest in European cultural history with her Jewish identity. Her translations of the works of Goethe and her poem In the Jewish Synagogue at Newport, where her family had a summer cottage, both found a place in her published work.
Let's see what we have in our request list. Let's see. Our request list. Oh, we have Death Be Not Proud. Death Be Not Proud is a marvelous poem. Who requested Death Be Not Proud? Death Be Not Proud was requested by Robotham J. Thank you for the request, Robotham J. Let me see if I can find the poem. John Donne. Death Be Not Proud. Death Be Not Proud was written in 1633 by John Donne. And you can see my portrait of John Donne just there. Let's get into the poem. Death, be not proud, though some have called thee mighty and dreadful, for thou art not so. For those whom thou think'st thou dost overthrow, die not, poor death, nor yet canst thou kill me. From rest and sleep, which but thy pictures be, much pleasure, then from thee much more must flow. And soonest our best men with thee do go, rest of their bones and soul's delivery. Thou art slave to fate, chance, kings, and desperate men, and dost with poison, war, and sickness dwell, and poppy or charms can make us sleep as well. And better than thy stroke, why swell'st thou then? One short sleep past, we wake eternally, and death shall be no more, death thou shalt die. A poem about death, but death personified as a schoolyard bully, one who is inferior even to sleep, and who in the end, though trying to be fearful, brings us rest. An interesting poem and reflection by John Donne on death. I somewhat messed up the rhythm on that one. Sorry about that. Maybe next time I'll do a better job. So it's one of the challenges of doing a live show. Okay. I've got a question for you all, Brains Trust out there, listening into today's show. I'm wondering why poetry seems to have lost much of its cultural popularity. Once upon a time, it was an extremely popular medium. But these days, Poetry is kind of the embarrassing uncle of literature that people don't seem to enjoy quite so much. So any thoughts about why that might be the case? I'd love to hear them. Please share them in the chat as we go and look at our next poetry request of the morning. Okay, our next requested poem is Psalm 88, written in the 6th century BC or around about the 6th century BC by Heman the Ezrahite. Not to be mistaken for He-Man of cartoon fame. This poem was requested by Ozjohn D. So this one's for you, Ozjohn D. Let's see, because music is effortless to obtain now. Actually, that probably is very true, isn't it? We haven't ditched poetry. We've just kind of changed its form into contemporary song and so on. That's as good a reason as any I can think of. Thank you for that contribution, Fizzban DM. I'd be interested to hear if any other thoughts are being had by listeners to the stream today. Let me know why you think that poetry has become less popular in modern times. And maybe it hasn't. Maybe it hasn't become less popular. Tim Tam writes, rap in particular is very poetry-like. Yes, it is. And much more like its spoken form of past times. So yeah, that's also true. Thank you for that contribution, Tim Tam. Psalm 88, a song, a psalm of the sons of Korah for the director of music, according to Mahalath Leonath, a maskil of Heman the Ezrahite. Lord, you are the God who saves me. Day and night I cry out to you. May my prayer come before you. Turn your ear to my cry. I am overwhelmed with troubles, and my life draws near to death. I am counted among those who go down to the pit. I am like one without strength. I am set apart with the dead, like the slain who lie in the grave, whom you remember no more, who are cut off from your care. You have put me in the lowest pit, in the darkest depths. Your wrath lies heavily on me, and you have overwhelmed me with all your waves. You have taken from me my closest friends and have made me repulsive to them. I am confined and cannot escape. My eyes are dim with grief. I call to you, Lord, every day. I spread out my hands to you. Do you show your wonders to the dead? Do their spirits rise up and praise you? Is your love declared in the grave, your faithfulness in destruction? Are your wonders known in the place of darkness, or your righteous deeds in the land of oblivion? But I cry to you for help, Lord. In the morning my prayer comes before you. Why, Lord, do you reject me and hide your face from me? From my youth I have suffered and been close to death. I have borne your terrors and am in despair. Your wrath has swept over me. Your terrors have destroyed me. All day long they surround me like a flood. They have completely engulfed me. You have taken from me my friend and neighbor. Darkness is my closest friend. And that was Psalm 88 for Osjohn D. A dark psalm, I guess you'd say. For those moments in life where the world seems to be on top of us and we feel abandoned. For myself, I've always found those psalms helpful and comforting. As a believer, this is a broken world, and it can feel like God has abandoned us. And God knows how we feel, and I find it helpful sometimes to use these psalms to express exactly and honestly what it is I'm experiencing in my own life. So I see the value of these psalms, even the really dark ones. Let's see. Robotham J writes, I suspect also that with more connection via the internet, individuals are more easily lost among everyone else, so people feel as though it's less significant because it won't be seen. I assume you're referring to poetry here. And yeah, I guess that's an interesting point as well. Poetry is created less frequently, and I think there is a sense in which poets feel less likely, feel as though they will be less likely to be given a hearing. I know some marvelous poets though, and as a form of expression, I do still find it gorgeous myself. What that means for other people, I don't know. Okay. Let's see where we are now.
Before you go on, I've got another knock-knock joke.
Uh-oh. Let's hear it then. I seem to not be moving my lips. Oh, there we go. I'm moving my lips again.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
I saw.
I saw? I saw who?
I saw can be annoying.
I'm not going to contest that, X37. I think that's probably an extremely accurate statement. Why don't we have a look at our final featured poem for today? Emma Lazarus's Critic and Poet. My other head wonders if, this is Fizban DM writes, my other head wonders if poetry isn't seen as a more elitist activity where music is much more accessible. Yeah, I think that's true too. There is a sense in which poetry has become kind of the domain of the cultured, which is kind of interesting because it's also the domain of children. Children love poetry, but people grow out of it, I guess, and become more sophisticated and lose their interest in poetry. And then, yet at the same time, poetry seems to be the domain of the self-confessedly sophisticated. And it's funny because music, while much more accessible, is much harder to produce than poetry. I can write a poem, but I can't write a song or write music very easily, not without a significant amount more training than I've had. So thank you for that comment of Fizban DM's other head. and wonderful to have you both with us today. Thanks for dropping by. Let's take a look at Critic and Poet by Emma Lazarus. Critic and Poet by Emma Lazarus. An apologue. No man had ever heard a nightingale, when once a keen-eyed naturalist was stirred to study and define what is a bird, to classify by rote and book, nor fail to mark its structure and to note the scale whereon its song, whereon its song might possibly be heard. Thus far no further, so he spake the word, when of a sudden hark, the nightingale. O deeper, higher than he could divine, that all unearthly, untaught strain he saw the plain brown warbler, unabashed, not mine. He cried, the error of this fatal flaw. No bird is this, it soars beyond my line. Were it a bird, 'twould answer to my law. And that was Critic and Poet. A wonderful little poem, this one, of the difference between the person who creates beauty and the person who tries to classify it and set rules for it, and in so doing fails. Thank you, mods, for deleting our spammer. I appreciate that. I hope you guys enjoyed that poem by Emma Lazarus. I find that one really fun. Just taking a glass of water there for a moment. And back we go. Let's have a look at our final bit of facts about Emma Lazarus for the day. Excellent, it didn't crash.
Hello again. In the 1880s, as tensions rose in Russia and pogroms became more and more common, many Eastern European Jews chose to immigrate to America. Emma Lazarus became increasingly convinced that the time had come for actions rather than words. She visited Russian Jewish refugees and volunteered at the Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society. She became an advocate for the new arrivals, using her pen to call attention to their plight and giving her time to help those who had recently arrived in America. Emma Lazarus's prose and poetry had always dealt with Jewish themes. In her later years, her work reflected an even stronger identification with her people. She wrote bold, beautiful poetry and essays protesting the rise of anti-Semitism, and a member of the well-established Jewish elite, she defended the rights of recent Russian Jewish immigrants. She called on Jews to unite and create a homeland in Palestine before the Zionist movement was well established. In 1883, Emma was asked to write a poem as part of an effort to raise money to build a pedestal for the Statue of Liberty. In composing the new Colossus, she drew inspiration from her work with Jewish immigrants. Although she herself never faced the hardships of Jews who left Eastern Europe to escape oppression and persecution, the words she wrote, "Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free," captured the experience of the immigrant to America so perfectly that they still inspire us today.
Thanks for that, X37, for providing us with that bit of information. Let's see. We've got a few more poems available to us today, so we'll take a look and see what we've got next. Our next poem is Ode to a Nightingale. Ode to a Nightingale by John Keats. Now, I haven't practiced this one in a while. I hope I don't mess it up. Ode to a Nightingale by John Keats. Ode to a Nightingale by John Keats. My heart aches, and a drowsy numbness pains my sense as though of hemlock I had drunk, or emptied some dull opiate to the drains. 1 minute passed, and leathwards had sunk. 'Tis not it through envy of thy happy lot, but being too happy in thine happiness, that thou, light wing dryad of the trees, in some melodious plot of beech and green and shadows numberless, singest of summer in full-throated ease. Oh, for a draught of vintage that hath been cooled a long age in the deep-delved earth, tasting of flora and the country green, dance and Provençal song and sunburnt mirth. Oh, for a beaker full of warm south, full of the true, the blushful Hippocrene, with beaded bubbles winking at the brim, and purple stained mouth, that I might drink and leave the world unseen, and with thee fade away into the forest dim. Fade far away, dissolve and quite forge what thou amongst the leaves hast never known, the weariness, the fever, and the fret, here where men sit and hear each other groan, where palsy shakes a few sad last grey hairs, where youth grows pale and spectre thin and dies, where but to think is to be full of sorrow and leaden-eyed despairs, where beauty cannot keep her lustrous eyes, or new love pine at them beyond tomorrow. Away, away, for I will fly to thee, not charioted by Bacchus and his pards, but on the viewless wings of poesy, though the dull brain perplexes and retards. Already with thee, tender is the night, and haply the queen moon is on her throne, clustered around by all her starry fays, but here there is no light, save what from heaven is with breezes blown, through verdurous glooms and winding mossy ways. I cannot see what flowers are at my feet, nor what soft incense hangs upon the boughs, but in embalmed darkness guess each sweet wherewith the seasonable month endows, the grass, the thicket, and the fruit tree wild, white hawthorn and the pastoral eglantine, fast fading violets covered up in leaves, and mid-May's eldest child, the coming musk rose full of dewy wine, the murmurous haunt of flies on summer eyes. Darkling I listen, and for many a time I have been half in love with easeful death, called him soft names in many a mused rhyme, to take into the air my quiet breath. Now more than ever seems it rich to die, to cease upon the midnight with no pain, while thou art pouring forth thy soul abroad in such an ecstasy. Still wouldst thou sing, and I have ears in vain, to thy high requiem become a sod. Thou wast not born for death, immortal bird. No hungry generations tread thee down. The voice I hear this passing night was heard in ancient days by emperor and clown. Perhaps the self-same song that found a path through the sad heart of Ruth when sick for home. She stood in tears amid the alien corn, the same that oft times hath charmed magic casements open on the foam of perilous seas in fairy lands forlorn. Forlorn, the very word is like a bell to toll me back from thee to my soul's self. Adieu, the fancy cannot cheat so well as she is famed to do, deceiving elf. Adieu, adieu, thy plaintive anthem fades past the near meadows, over the still stream, up the hillside, and now 'tis buried deep in the next valley glades. Was it a vision or a waking dream? Fled is that music. Do I wake or sleep? And that was John Keats' Ode to a Nightingale for Oz John D. Haven't practiced that one in a while, messed up the rhythm fairly spectacularly there. But it is an awesome poem. The middle section, for any who've ever struggled with mental illness and depression, there's something that speaks to that experience in Keats's confession of wishing for death, wishing for an end to the daily grind. And at the same time, there is this elevation of beauty, the nightingale itself, the antidote, in a sense, to the loss of meaning. Okay, so let's jump back in and look at what else we have today. Let's see. All right. Thinking a bit further about our question earlier, if you could do one thing to improve the popularity of poetry in general culture, what would it be? I'd be interested to know what you think that could be done to improve the popularity of poetry, not of song, not of music, but of poetry. I'd be interested to hear what you have to say on that. Let's see. While you're thinking about that, we'll do our third poem. Our third poem is Democracy. Democracy. Requested by Fizzban DM. Thank you for that request. It's not often I get to do an original poem, so we'll jump across and I will do Democracy for Fizzban DM. Here we are. Democracy. Written in 1999 by yours truly, the Deaf Poet. And I seem to have lost my voice again. There we go. Democracy by the Deaf Writer. Democracy has won, but the prize went to capitalism. Democracy has won, but corporate organization is fascist. Democracy has won, but we are told we want strong leadership. Democracy has won, but we distrust the mentality of the herd. Democracy has won, but we are working hard to make it extinct very, very soon. And that was Democracy by the deaf writer, yours truly, written back in 1999, just after the collapse of the Berlin Wall. In the midst of all that optimism, looking around and watching the rise of Putin and his dictatorship, even while we were still crowing about the end of the USSR. And then discovering that, hey, so long as he was a capitalist about it, it was no problem that we could have someone like Putin in power. A tragedy compounded by tragedy. Okay, let's see, what have we got here? Oh, we've got a bunch of requests added. So they'll be coming up. Fizzban DM says, have someone cool do it. Somebody cool doing poetry would make it more popular. Yeah, that would be good. I wonder who I know that is cool enough to bring to bring some life back into poetry. Erin was always pretty cool in my eyes. I reckon she'd be a good ambassador for poetry. My other head says poetry needs a reality TV show. Yeah. Maybe not. So, actually, I could see that being a lot of fun. An improvisational TV show where people came on and they had to improvise poems around different themes and so on. That could be a lot of fun. I would watch that. Let's see. Fizzban DM writes, just in time for our election next week. I guess, yeah, that poetry poem is very topical and relevant as Australia goes to the polls next week. What else is happening here? Tim Tam says, let's go. I got stream elements to hit the star. That's very rare, I'm sure. Yes. Fizzban DM. Whose poem is it anyway? Yes. I was actually thinking of that show. Whose line is it anyway? And how that would be a great place to showcase some improvisational poetry. Very much so. Okay.
Hello, I'm back again.
Well, yeah, I can see that. You are indeed back again. Are you hoping to do another joke for us, X37?
That's right. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Juno.
Juno. Juno who?
Do you know what? I'd like to come inside now.
Nah. Okie dokie. Yeah. Moving right along. Let's see. We have time for another poetry request. Let's see what poems are on our list. The Cats. The Cats by H.P. Lovecraft, requested by Robotham J. I do enjoy this particular poem. It's most of H.P. Lovecraft was not a great poet. Most of his poems tended to imitate Edgar Allan Poe, and even though that imitation is very obvious in his poems, I still find them a lot of fun. So I quite enjoy them. Let's go with The Cats by H.P. Lovecraft. Babels of blocks to the high heavens towering, flames of futility swirling below, poisonous fungi in brick and stone flowering, lanterns that shudder and death lights that glow, black monstrous bridges across oily rivers, cobwebs of cable by nameless things spun, catacomb deeps whose dank chaos delivers streams of live fetor that rots in the sun. Colour and splendour, disease and decaying, shrieking and ringing and scrambling insane, rabbles exotic to stranger gods praying, jumbles of odour that stifle the brain. Legions of cats from the alleys nocturnal, howling and lean in the glare of the moon, screaming the future with mouthings infernal, yelling the burden of Pluto's red rune. Tall towers and pyramids of ivy and crumbling, bats that swoop low in the weed-cumbered streets, bleak broken bridges or rivers whose rumbling joins with no voice as the thick tide retreats, belfries that blackly against the moon totter, caverns whose mouths are by mosses effaced, and living to answer the wind and the water, only the lean cats that howl in the waste. And that was The Cats by H.P. Lovecraft, very much in imitation of the poetry of Edgar Allan Poe.
Oh, Captain, my Captain.
Yes, X-37?
I think we're about to get a visit from Deep Thought.
As usual, the timing is terrible.
Don't shoot the messenger. I just thought you should know.
Well, that being the case, let's try and get one more poem in before Deep Thought arrives. We might turn off the... we'll turn off the requests at this point, and this will be our last requested poem for a bit, because I'm pretty sure that that Deep Thought will request a poem before we get too much further. So let's have a look at what we've got. Armistice. To His Dead Cobber from the Sentimental Bloke by C.J. Dennis. Requested by FizzBandDM. C.J. Dennis was one of the big three of Australian poets, and his Sentimental Bloke poems are considered some of the best poems that our country, Australia, has ever produced. So, I went past need to go back. C.J. Dennis, Armistice, To My Dead Cobber from the Sentimental Bloke. Written in 1927 by C.J. Dennis. And we can see a little portrait that I did of CJ Dennis up there. To His Dead Cobber from The Sentimental Bloke by CJ Dennis. I'm sittin' here, Mick, sittin' here today, feelin' half glum, half sorta reverent, thinkin' strange crooked thoughts of how they say the heads is bowed through all a continent, and wonderin' in a kind of doubt if other covs is feelin' like I do, tryin' to figure what it's all about, and if it's meanin' anything to you. Silence, the hour strikes soon through all the land, and heads bend low. Old mate, give me your hand. Silence for you, Mick, and for blokes like you, to mark the day you never knew. The day you never knew, nor we forget. I can't tell why I'm sitting here this way, scrawling a message that you'll never get. Or will you? I dunno, it's hard to say. Perhaps you'll know all about it where you are, and think, well, they ain't too bad a lot, and tell them other digs up on your star, that now or never more they ain't forgot. Silence, not here alone, Mick, everywhere. In city and in country, heads are bare. And in this room it seems as if I knew some friend who came, old cobber. Is it you? My heart is full, Mick, 'struth I ain't the bloke, as you well know, to go all soft and wet. Fair's fair, lad, times I've known when you have spoke like you was tough and hard as all and hell, and yet something behind your bluff and swagger bold showed all them nasty sentiments was kid. It was that thing inside you, lad, what told. It made you go and do the thing you did. Silence. There's mothers, Mick, you never knew. No mother, but they're praying for you too. In every heart, the boys are there. The boys, that very name, lad, is a prayer. The boys, old cobber, I can see 'em still. The drums are rollin' and the sunlight gleams. On bayonets, men are marchin' with a will, on to the glory of their boyhood's dreams. Glory, you never found it that too much. But lad, you stuck it with the rest. And if your bearing had no soulful touch, 'twas for our souls that you went marchin' west. Silence. The children too, Mick, little kids, are standin', not because their teacher bids. They've knew no war, but they have stopped their play, because they know, they feel it is the day. So may it be through all the comin' years, but sorrow's gone, lad, it's not that we know. The sobbin's past, old cobber, and the tears, and well we understand you'd have it so. But something deeper far than that has come, something a mind can't get within its bound, something I can't explain. A man is dumb when he thinks, listen, hear the bugles sound. Silence. Well, Mick, old cock, I don't know why I've wrote. It's just to ease a thing inside what says, sit down, you sloppy coot, and write a note to that old cobber of the olden days. He'll know for sure, he'll know, so lad, it's done. Work's waitin' and a man can't get in wrong. Our goal is still ahead, but yours is won. That's the one thing we know, lad, and so long. Silence. It's over, Mick, so there you are. I know you're happy up there on your star. Believe us, lad, that star shall never fall, while one is left to say, God keep 'em all. And that was To His Dead Cobber from The Sentimental Bloke by C.J. Dennis. An appropriate poem given that we've just had Anzac Day and have been remembering those who have given their lives, those who have given their lives in the tragedy of war. Let's head back in here. Uh-oh, I think I can see deep thought coming now.
Hello, mere mortal. It is I, Deep Thought, master of the cosmic mysteries, diviner of all things.
You sound like a cheap sideshow barker, you know that?
What do you mean?
Oh, never mind.
I'm here for my weekly poem.
Your weekly poem, huh? Presumptuous much?
This is a request show you're running, isn't it?
Yes.
Then I have as much right as anyone to make a request. Maybe more given my superiority to every other living thing.
Good grief. What poem?
A poem that expresses the adventure and wonder of a great journey.
Okay, this should be good.
Recite for me the first fit of The Hunting of the Snark by Lewis Carroll.
Okay, here's your poem. Oh, but there have been some comments on the site, so before I do your poem for you, Deep Thought, you're going to have to just wait for a moment. Let's see. Oz John D has made some suggestions. Helena Bonham Carter. Oh, yeah. Morgan Freeman, Anthony Hopkins, Michael Sheen, Ralph Fiennes, Ian McKellen. All exemplary poetry readers on YouTube. I think poetry is still interesting to younger generations. The medium of presentation needs to be attention-grabbing for them. As Tim Tam said, there's a lot of poetry in rap, and rappers also do a fair bit of spoken word stuff. Very true. It's not like it's not out there, is it? I would love to see poetry achieve a new renaissance, a new time of general popularity in popular culture. I suspect the day is past. I suspect that, as has been stated, music and song and so on have displaced poetry for the most part. But it's still alive and there, so I guess I shouldn't despair too much. And so I won't. Thank you for the encouragement you guys have provided today. Now, let me see. I need to find the poem for Deep Thought that is going to close our show today. Oops, went too far. There it is. Lewis Carroll, The Hunting of the Snark, Part 1. There's my portrait of Lewis Carroll. And this is for you, Deep Thought. The Hunting of the Snark, the first fit. Fit the first, the landing. Just this place for a snark. the bellman cried as he landed his crew with care, supporting each man on the top of the tide by a finger entwined in his hair. "Just the place for a snark. I've said it twice. That alone should encourage the crew. Just the place for a snark. I've said it thrice. What I tell you 3 times is true." The crew was complete. It included a boots, a maker of bonnets and hoods, a barrister brought to arrange their disputes, and a broker to value their goods. A billiard marker whose skill was immense might perhaps have won more than his share, but a banker engaged at enormous expense had the whole of their cash in his care. There was also a beaver that paced on the deck or would sit making lace in the bow, and had often, the bellman said, saved them from wreck, though none of the sailors knew how. There was one who was famed for the number of things he forgot when he entered the ship: his umbrella, his watch, all his jewels and rings, and the clothes he had brought for the trip. He had 42 boxes, all carefully packed, with his name painted clearly on each. But since he omitted to mention the fact, they were all left behind on the beach. The loss of his clothes hardly mattered because he had 7 coats on when he came, with 3 pair of boots, but the worst of it was he had wholly forgotten his name. He would answer to hi or to any loud cry, such as "Fry me" or "Frit him a wig," to whatchamacallum, or what was his name, but especially to thingamajig. While for those who preferred a more forcible word, he had different names from these. His intimate friends called him Candle Ends, and his enemies Toasted Cheese. His form is ungainly, his intellect small, so the bellman would often remark, but his courage is perfect, and that, after all, is the thing that one needs with a snark. He would joke with hyenas returning their stare with an impudent wag of his head, and he once went a walk, paw in paw, with a bear, just to keep up its spirits, he said. He came as a baker, but owned when too late, and it drove the poor bellman half mad. He could only bake bride cake, for which I may state no materials were to be had. The last of the crew needs a special remark, though he looked an incredible dunce. He had just one idea, but that one being snark. The good bellman engaged him at once. He came as a butcher, but gravely declared when the ship had been sailing a week, he could only kill beavers. The bellman looked scared and was almost too frightened to speak. But at length he explained in a tremulous tone, there was only one beaver on board, and that was a tame one he had of his own, whose death would be deeply deplored. The beaver, who happened to hear the remark, protested with tears in its eyes that not even the rapture of hunting the snark could atone for that dismal surprise. It strongly advised that the butcher should be conveyed in a separate ship, but the bellman declared that would never agree with the plans he had made for the trip. Navigation was always a difficult art, though with only one ship and one bell, and he feared he must really decline for his part, undertaking another as well. The beaver's best course was no doubt to procure a second-hand dagger-proof coat. So the baker advised it, and next to ensure its life in some office of note. This the banker suggested, and offered for hire on moderate terms or for sale 2 excellent policies, one against fire and one against damage from hail. Yet still ever after that sorrowful day, whenever the butcher was by, the beaver kept looking the opposite way and appeared unaccountably shy. And there you have it. The first fit of the hunting of the snark by Lewis Carroll for Deep Throat. Deep Throat? Deep Thought.
I dedicated that poem to you in honor of the dangerous journey on which you're about to embark.
Wait, what?
I'd stay, but I believe you're about to be visited by a host of angry Krell.
Wait, what?
I hope you've been reading about how to use the ship's guns and defenses.
Wait, what?
Only 3 watts? You really aren't very bright.
Now hang on just a minute.
Goodbye.
Oh, whatever.
Did Deep Thought seem stranger than usual to you, Captain? Like he knows something we don't?
Now you mention it, yes, he's getting more cryptic by the week. You know, for those who came in late, I better bring a little bit of an update about what's been going on. I am your host, the Deaf Writer, and captain of the starship Pentameter. Just before the Earth was destroyed in the year 20,324, I was kidnapped by an intergalactic intelligence named Deep Thought, who mistook me for Dorothy Parker. Go figure. Deep Thought gave me my ship and told me to seek my destiny, whatever that might mean. I am now the last human being alive in the galaxy, and accompanied by my robotic first mate X-37, I have made it my mission to keep human culture alive by beaming poetry into the cosmos once a week. Press-ganged into the service of the Krell Emperor, we were sent to investigate the sudden silence of some remote Krell outposts on pain of being skinned and boiled in vinegar. The first outpost we visited, Outpost 21372, appeared to have vanished without a trace. While investigating, we discovered a galactic enemy returning after 30,000 years to wipe out the advanced life forms in the universe. We arranged to meet with a Krell envoy to pass on the news, but no envoy arrived. We then tried to contact the Emperor directly, but have not been able to get a signal through. At the third and final target of our reconnaissance mission, we received a strange transmission that led us to recover an ancient artifact buried deep beneath the planet's surface. We have no idea what it does and are studying it while our enemies continue their pursuit, and as we continue to try and report back to the Emperor.
Captain, I'm picking up some unusual energy readings at the moment.
Energy readings? Show me what's happening.
Looks like there are some Krell ships nearby. Uh-oh. Looks like we've got some company. This doesn't look good at all.
There they are. Open fire.
What? They're firing on us? This is insane. Bring up the shield. Whoa. Did we just take out all 3 Krell ships?
It looks like total destruction.
But how? Our guns, they're not that strong, are they?
I think it was the artifact we picked up on Kleos. There was a big energy surge from the study chamber where we have housed it, just before we fired.
Damn. I mean, we didn't have a choice, right? They just opened fire without warning.
Don't they know we've got an urgent message for the Emperor?
Maybe not. Remember, their envoy's ship was destroyed by... We need to give those things a name.
How about the ancient enemy? That seems to be what Deep Thought calls them.
I guess it will do for now. Maybe the Krell think we had something to do with the enemy's destruction.
Well, if they didn't, they certainly do now. We really did just destroy 3 of their ships. What do you think we should do?
I'm not sure. Maybe we should just throw to our credits and give this situation some more thought.
All right.
Before I do that, though, I can see that we've got some more messages have appeared on the screen. Let's take a look. Yes. My mistake. Deep Throat. Remembering back to the days of the Watergate experience and their secret source, and somehow that got fixed in my head, and I've been mispronouncing Deep Thought's name today. Anyway, thank you everybody who has joined the stream today. I truly appreciate the visits. I'm a little out of practice. It's been 2 weeks since the show last aired, but we're back for another 12-episode season of poetry. And I really appreciate you guys showing up and being part of our show. Thank you to Oz John D for being here today, to Fizban DM of the Two Heads. Thank you, of course, to my marvelous mods, Tim Tam and Robotham J. Great to see you guys here again. And hopefully I will get the opportunity to see you again. In the meantime, here are the credits for today's show. Original poems by the deaf writer are copyright and cannot be used without permission. All other poetry is in the public domain. The artwork on the site is licensed via Envato, GameDeveloperStudio.com, or Microsoft. Poem illustrations are original works created by the deaf writer and subject to copyright. All sounds are licensed from Envato. The recording of Gymnopody is provided royalty-free by museopen.org. Go.animation was created by Jack Robotham. Poetry Quest game was also created by Jack Robotham, which we didn't promote today, but if you happen to be visiting our Discord server, you can download our Poetry Quest computer game for free. This production is copyright 2025. No Krell were harmed during the production of this stream. And with that, thanks again for dropping by. I look forward to seeing you again sometime soon. Have a great day. Bye.